consent. Yes. Thank you so much and welcomes to our Sydney Meetup today. Some welcomes for joining us again in the Sydney Meetup 2022 virtual sessions today. It is September and this is our second virtual sessions of the year. The registration today has been great. I'm hoping that the live turnout attendees will also be as great too. Looking at the number of attendees keep coming in. While waiting for many more attendees to join in from any parts of the world, let me introduce you, next slide please, Asana. The two new leaders from our Sydney Meetup chapters. They are Satish from our Partners Network, Capgemini, and Harshana from our MuleSoft customer success team. If you're based out of Sydney and you can make it to our upcoming in-person meetup events in October, going to be on the 13th of October evening at Capgemini office, you'll be able to meet Satish in person. The registration details for these October events is soon going to be published soon, so stay tuned. And MuleSoft is part of our Salesforce organization, and this biggest Salesforce events of the year, Dreamforce, is happening in 2 weeks' time. We'll be hearing many of the exciting MuleSoft new announcements, new launch announcements during Dreamforce, and we should definitely bring some of these highlights for your attentions during our upcoming in-person events in October. If you need to reach out to us, the Sydney Meetup leaders, just navigate to the Sydney Chapter Meetup site URL here. You'll find all our contact details. Next slide. And today we are very excited and very honored this time to have invited the very experienced integrations developers from our MuleSoft communities to share with us all the best practice, tips and tricks around building integrations for healthcare solutions on MuleSoft platforms. I'll let Ankur introduce himself later in a while and share with us more details of the agenda of his presenting content today. Next slide. Meanwhile, some of these general event logistic, we'll start up with a few key announcements by Harshana while waiting for many more attendees to join in before we dive into the speaker contents today. I hope all of you stay until the end of the sessions because we are going to have a trivia contest at the end, and we'll be giving away many of the wonderful MuleSoft prizes and goodies to the top 3 winners. Throughout the sessions, all audience line will be muted. Please post your questions via the Q&A link I have already shared through the chat window. You will find the message is also pinned on the chat window. We won't be picking up questions from the chat panels, so please open that link. If you have any questions, post it to the link and we address that at the end of the presentations. The presenter slide and recording will be shared within 24 to 48 hours on the same registration page that you register for the event today. So for those who miss out, don't worry, you can review all our recording and the contents for today's. Without further ado, I'm passing over to Harshana to start today's announcement.
Thank you very much, Eva. And I actually would like to welcome Ankur and Tobias from our community because without their help, this event would not be successful. And I would welcome you all as well because you're actually joining from different parts of the world. Some in North America, some in Asia, some in Australia itself. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Within the last 2 months, we have seen quite a few new announcements related to new products that's coming through from MuleSoft. So if you have tuned in, you may have seen some of these. But as a recap, we would like to actually present to you some of these content back to you. So you can actually, once you have the slide deck, you have the relevant information and then the links to reach out and check out this new content. So the first product that we have done the release is actually the MuleSoft automation. We previously always had the Anypoint platform, which you all love and use already. And on top of that one, last year, we released the MuleSoft Composer. And that enables some of your business teams to do the innovations faster. But now to fill the gap within the rest of the portfolio, we have the MuleSoft RPA product. So with the RPA product, you can do the end-to-end automation of your high automation journey. So if we haven't checked yet, the links are embedded within this slide deck. So once you have the slide deck, you can reach out and then check the product out. The next product that we did raise is actually the MuleSoft Cloud Hub 2.0. This is the next generation of our MuleSoft managed iPaaS solution. So with this product release, what we have done, you are already using our RPF product, and we are now kind of doing eating our own dog food in a manner by using the RTF product to build our Cloud Hub platform itself. So if you haven't tried out that you already have the entitlements coming to your existing AnyPoint accounts, you should already see these entitlements available to you. You should be able to actually try it out very easily within your account itself. If you haven't seen these entitlements coming through, sign up with the new account, and then you will all be able to try them out. And you have already seen the Universal API Management product suite that coming through a couple of months back. And we have done a few major releases related to the Universal API Management itself. So we have released the Anypoint Flex Gateway new version 1.1.0. And on top of that, we released a couple of new policies that you can enforce. Not only these things, but there are other enhancements happening on that front. So please check it out. So it's the newest product in our products suite in terms of enabling your microservices journey. So it should be very exciting to try it out. On top of all these things, we actually continue to invest into our platform. That's our major platform, the Anypoint Studio, API Manager, Runtime Manager, and the Partner Manager. But there are a couple of new features being released, like the JWT validators, requests related to your API list. So all these things are embedded within these links. These are just like some of the changes that we have done in the past. So please try them out. Now, let's look at some of the upcoming events in the community. We have two new meetups coming up, one in Manila region, and the other one is in Wellington. So the links are embedded. Please check it out. Please join, because some of these are on the API management related to the Flex Gateway, and some of them are with the integration related to your general integrations related to Salesforce background. There are about 150 different groups worldwide. You can join some, like whatever the groups that are closer to you. So you can actually participate in one of your in-person events that coming through in the recent uh, future. So on top of that, there are like a quite lot of online groups happening as well. So like similar to what we have today, there are quite a lot of virtual events continue to happen. So that allows you to join from everywhere in the world. So please check them out. If you are not part of one of our meetup groups, please use these links and then sign up with these programs. If you're not a MuleSoft mentor or haven't heard about the MuleSoft mentor program, this is one of our top community programs. So what does community mentorship means? So this is actually like it becomes it enables you to build your professional and personal brand and be recognized as one of the MuleSoft experts within our community. So at the same time, you're actually helping the others to skill them up, because you are actually helping them and you share your knowledge with them, and you actually bring the entire community together. So if you haven't tried it out, you haven't checked it out, please go and see. You can actually sign up as an individual mentor by yourself. The entry requirements are not that hard. I believe you almost like you pretty much everyone has like at least one MuleSoft certification if you're using MuleSoft, and then you can actually try it out and then sign up with the mentorship programs. There have been new 70 mentors recently joined our program. So if you are actually interested, please try it out and join in the upcoming mentor programs. With this, I would like to actually introduce Ankur, who is our presenter today. Ankur, please take it us away. Thank you.
Hasana, you have to unshare your screen. Yeah, good. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you so much, Harshana. Let me quickly share my screen and then we'll start off. Okay. Can someone please confirm if you guys are able to see my screen properly? Yeah, you guys can see my screen? Okay, okay, perfect. Perfect. So yeah, thank you so much, Harsana. So today we are going to be talking about building Fire applications in MongoDB using MuleSoft. So before we proceed to this, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Ankur, and I currently live in Bangalore in India, which is also called as the Silicon Valley of India. And I am a developer by day and a musician by night, which helps me in keeping my stress in check. So for today, we are going to be talking about first what is Fire and why to use it, then why only MongoDB Atlas along with Fire, then a very important question, why just MuleSoft, then we'll have a look at error handling and how correlation ID works in this healthcare space. Then I'll take all of you through a customer story, and then we'll have a look at one of the live demos. Yeah. Okay. So HL7 FIRE. So first of all, FIRE stands for Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources. So now, as the name says, it is used for just for interoperability. So it supports RESTful architectures in either XML or JSON, and JSON is the preferred language for everyone to use here because it is easier to read, easier to understand, and anyone even from a non-technical background can have a look at a JSON file and get the basic details out of it, like see and read the basic details out of it. Then there is a very strong focus on implementation since healthcare field is spread across a lot of different organizations, hospitals, vendors, health system, and a lot of so there was a need to create a standardized version of a language or of something that can be used across the system for everyone so that it becomes easy between systems to communicate. So now we use JSON to communicate between all the systems available everywhere. So in case, like, let's say there are two different hospitals that want to communicate, who want to send the patient data from one hospital branch to another hospital branch. So since it is a standard, this FIRE is a standard which is followed by everyone, it will be very easy to transmit this data and there will not be any discrepancies. Now, moving on to why MongoDB Atlas with Fire. So first of all, MongoDB Atlas is a fully managed cloud database. So the Atlas part, the cloud part, it handles all the complexity of deployment management and everything else which is related to this database. And the best advantage here is that since MongoDB also works with JSON data, it becomes very easy to store this Fire data into MongoDB directly because both of them are using the same JSON format in the background. So this is one of the main reasons why MongoDB is the suggested database for this specific Fire standard. Now, someone might ask why only MuleSoft and not anything else? We can work in any technologies. There are a lot of other integration platforms as well. So, I think all of you would already be aware that MuleSoft provides plug and play connectors. Like you can simply just drag and drop those connectors, do some configuration, and you will be good to go. So as you can see on the right side of the screen, I have given screenshot of how the HL7 Fire connector looks like. So we'll see these connectors and everything related to them in the demo as well. And on the bottom, we have all the functionalities that are provided by MongoDB in the MuleSoft, like as connectors. So now the main advantage here is that since we have plug and play connectors, it becomes very easy to implement everything, and it becomes very very easy to like develop something quickly and provide it back to the customer. And it can also work on a simple request response mechanism where a user or any application just sends a request and they can get the work done very easily. Yeah. Now, moving on to error handling in MuleSoft. So, for us, one of the requirement was that since the data is very sensitive and we cannot miss out on any information for any patient, so one of the main requirements was that if there is any error while converting data, or if there is anything going wrong while doing any of the transformations or anything, the complete data set should not be processed at all, right? Because we are talking about information on a patient. So maybe if there is some information that is skipped out, it might not be good for that patient or whoever is taking care of that patient, right? So the first requirement was to completely stop the processing if anything goes wrong for a record, and then do not retry it until the. So now, then also send out an email notification. So for that for that purpose, we used honor propagate, because that is going to completely stop the processing, then throw back the exception to the main back to the main flow, and then using that we are sending out an email notification saying that, hey, there is something wrong, just fix it, and then you can rerun it whenever the error is fixed. Now, correlation ID. So how does correlation ID come into picture? So first of all, correlation ID is a common identifier to all requests, messages, and responses in each transaction. So correlation ID is sent out in the headers to all the requests, and this helps with log entries. Like if let's say that you have all the logs and you want to check what is happening for a specific request or a message, then you can simply use a correlation ID and get a list of all the steps that have happened through that correlation ID. So if you have a look at the diagram on the right hand side of your screen, so let's say that a patient has to book an appointment for getting some test done through the hospital, through any hospital. So once the patient is sending a request, so like hypothetically, let's say that one request goes for appointment booking and one request goes for invoicing. So you can see the same correlation ID goes from my original message to the appointment booking API as well as to the invoicing API. So since we are sending the same correlation ID, if any one of these two APIs fail, let's say, so it will be easier for me using this correlation ID to check what is failing and where it is failing. So once I'm able to track it, it will be easier for me to fix it. So you can use any of the log management tools and easily filter out and catch these issues based on the correlation ID. So, okay. So for us, for one of the customers, they were trying to look for solutions available in Java, and we did a lot of research. So as of now, there are not a lot of solutions which directly provide you any type of conversions from HL7 to the FHIR format. And our customer has been into healthcare sector since a very long time, and they had a lot of HL7 data that they wanted to convert. So right now we don't have a lot of functionality or any inbuilt libraries available that you can use to do these conversions. And on top of that, it becomes, if you have to write something from the scratch, it will need extensive research and development and testing, and then any changes in the FHIR standard in the future will have to be imitated in your functionality as well. Now, so this converter and this healthcare accelerator, so MuleSoft came up with all these things last year in November. Like with the final stable version, they came up with all these things in November. So we suggested the client to move to MuleSoft since they were already a MuleSoft partner, and MuleSoft contained all these connectors which you can directly use, and these connectors are already compliant with fire standards and any changes going forward, you like these connectors will be updated automatically whenever there is any changes in the fire standards, if any changes are there in the fire standard. Then there are other EHR repositories where you can store your data. So for example, Smile CDR is one of the repositories where you can store all your data, but then it is a paid repository, like which is under someone else's control, and it's not completely under your control, and it provides limited data manipulation resources. So all these things combined let us to help us in deciding that we should be using the fire connectors which are available in MuleSoft, and then the Atlas version of MongoDB. Okay. So let me now quickly reshare my screen, and then I'll take all of you through these resources. Okay, so let's see. So now the first thing that I'm going to showcase is the Fire website. So the latest release that is going on is so from HL7 they have moved on to Fire, and in Fire also they have reached to release 4B. So seeing that, like, you can guess how many changes have been done or how many things have been added to just reach to this release version 4B. So now on this website, you can see there are links to all the resources which are used in the healthcare sector. So all these resources will give you an example, and they'll tell you about the different types of standards that have been set for all these specific resources. So they have been categorized as per like when they're used, where they're used, and for whom they're used. So I'll take an example of individual set for patient. So if I open the when I open the patient resource, so you can see it has the scope and usage where it will tell you like when to use it, how to use it, and for whom to use it. Similarly, if you scroll down, you can see all the resource content. See, these are the fields that are required for a fire resource, and the like corresponding to each field, they have some rules, they have some description constraints, all those things. So everything needs to be followed since it is a standard. You can also see the corresponding JSON related to it, XML related to it. So for the demo purpose, we are going to use JSON. Right? So in the JSON, you can see everything, like it becomes easier to understand. So maybe not easier to understand here in this context, but then when you go to an actual example, it becomes very easy to understand and see all these things. Then second, MongoDB Atlas. This is the Atlas. This is the cloud version. So I'm using a free cluster for this demo version. If required, like as per the requirement, you can upgrade it to like whatever you need, and you can use it directly. Now this is how the MuleSoft connectors look like. Let me show you here. So HL7 right now has two connectors, read and write, and we're going to be using both of them, and we'll see how they work. And MongoDB provides a lot of different functionality here. So we'll see a couple of these functionalities as well. In the meanwhile, let me also open MongoDB Compass. It's what I'm using to store the data. For sending request, for the request response part, I'm going to be using Postman here. So let's first have a look at the two formats that we have. So this is a very easy like a very small example of how the HL7 formatted data looks like. So you can see, like, the first observation anyone will make is that it is okay. Uh, it is a pipeline separated data, right? But then it is not as easy to read as when I move to the fire formatted data. So you can see it is JSON. I can see all these fields. I can read all these fields. So let's say I have the name. I want to read the name. So for me, reading a name will be easier here as compared to reading the name here, because here I don't even know which field says this is the name. Whereas in the fire format, it becomes very easy for me. So okay, so first HL7, let's do a read connector first. So this HL7 read connector is going to read your HL7 data and then convert it into the fire format. So let's go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm sending one HL7 formatted data, and when I send this request, as you can see, it instantly gets converted to the fire formatted data, and how easy it becomes for me to read from here, like instead of here to read from here, everything. So this is all happening because of the HL7 read connector. Now, if required, we can do it the other way around also, so that I'm sending the same fire data, and in return, I'm getting HL7 formatted data. So now, since HL7 is an older version and fire is a newer version, this functionality is not as you like this functionality is not used as much as the other way around, where we are converting HL7 data to fire data. Okay. Now the configuration also, let's have a look at the configuration a little bit. So I am using a standard reconnection strategy, nothing special in that. Now we have a few schema definitions here mentioned here, and let's have a quick look at all this schema definitions and configurations as well. So you can see I have in my resources folder. Okay, in my resources folder, I have these files where I have mentioned all this configuration, and based on these configurations, these event messages, I can define what kind of conversion I'm looking for, what are the fields that I'm looking for in the conversion. Now let me also for MongoDB, I think, okay, so this is how the MongoDB connector looks like. And for MongoDB, the configuration is not very difficult. It is very easy. You just need a connection string. Like the basic way of using MongoDB is that you just need a connection string, and that's it. You're good to go. Also, for the demo purpose, I'm going to be using JSON also. So this JSON logger is basically better everything. Okay, run this. Yeah. Okay, so it's a logger the same way that we have other loggers, but the thing that it that a build is a trace point. So you can see it has a lot of inbuilt trace point, right? If are you using this logger after a request or after a transformation or before request, before transformation, start of the flow, then like where you are using, and you can configure it accordingly. Once there is also an option to you to specify correlation ID. So if you want your correlation ID to be in any specific format or in anything, then you can mention the same here. Otherwise, is going to take a correlation ID. Let's see if this has opened up. Just realize that a little bit there is a power cut here. So sorry for that. Okay. So now I have added some data here, and let's first have a look at how it is gonna look in the JSON format. So you can see we copied the JSON, like the Fire JSON here from here into the MongoDB file here, and I can very easily see it in the tabular form as well. It becomes very easy for me to see everything in the tables. So this is why, since I can directly import this kind of data into MongoDB and then see it in tables and do a, it becomes very easy to use MongoDB along with Fire. Now I think this is already running, so I'm just going to simply run a query where I'm trying to find something where the name is my name, Ankur, this thing. So when I send this request, so you can see all the data has come to me in the same Fire format, in the same JSON format, which is also used as Fire format, right? And now if I go to the logs here, let's have a look at the console logs. Now so you can see we have correlation ID mentioned everywhere. So let me just quickly copy this so that it becomes easier to see. Okay. Perfect. So now you can see the same correlation ID, which is highlighted here in green. It has been passed from every step from the beginning, which is like fetching the document from MongoDB, then documents are fetched successfully before transforming the payload, then the payload transformed to JSON, everything. So we have correlation ID is being passed from one place to another place, like throughout the flow. So this actually helps me in tracing what all steps have been crossed. So let's say if there is any exception here, yeah. Let's say if we have any exception here, let me. Okay, let's quickly try to generate one error. Okay, so let's just. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to maybe generate an error in the transform component, and we'll run it again. Let's wait for this to stop running. So once this stops running, I'm again going to send a request, and then we'll see how the logger lets me know where exactly this is failing. My flow is failing.
Ankur, for the interest of time, do you want to jump straight to the next one and come back to this later on? Because we have many
Okay.
questions that is already filling the channels, and I think the
Okay.
audience is really eager to go into the Q&A sessions.
Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. Okay, sure. Okay, so let's see. So I'll just quickly show a little more data here and how my JSON is saved here. So I can quickly expand a field, and then I can see all the fields inside here. Then if there are other fields also, I can expand them also, find all the details related to hospital, everything here in my, like, JSON has been converted into the tabular form. Okay, now going back to the presentation. Okay, now these are the few links that I have used throughout the presentation. The first one is going to take you to the fire resources URL that we saw. Then I have also checked in all my code to one of the GitHub repositories, so you can have a look at everything that we saw in the demo here. And this is the cloud version of MongoDB that if you want, you can use it. And I think that is it from my side. Back to you, Eva.
No worries. So if you can just unshare your screen, I can put up my screen and show the audience. Thank you so much for all the questions that is filling in. Really appreciate that. So for today's sessions, thank you so much, Ankur, for sharing your contents. So first question, I think the most interesting questions that the audience really like to know about, I think for today's topic, is really the difference between HL7s and fire connectors. I think since today we have Tobias, the expert in connectors, on the line, I will invite him to really give his 2 cents and insight with this main topic.
Sure. All right. So look, the main difference is HL7 V2. Let's be very precise with terminology. First of all, Fire is part of the HL7 standard family. But when we commonly refer to HL7, most people refer to it to HL7 V2, which is a legacy format that's been around since the 80s or 90s, so that pipe delimited format that you have seen. So really the main difference is basically HL7 V2 is a message-based format. So it's that pipe delimited and primarily follows a messaging, basically integration pattern. So you have to send those messages from sending to a receiving application, either directly or through some sort of broker. The main difference with Fire is, so it's an evolution. So there was HL7 V3 in the middle, and now we have Fire. Fire is about 10 years old now. It takes advantage of modern, basically, technology standards that have evolved over time. So think about HL7 V2 is a pre-internet era protocol. We still only had TCP connections back then. So very different constraints. Fire is now taking advantage of JSON. It's taking advantage of REST. You can still do messaging and document-based paradigms with Fire as well, but it's taking advantage of, let's say, modern standards that have evolved over time. And with that, obviously gives us then more integration patterns. So we have, synchronous patterns. So, REST-based GET. We've got a much more easy format to work with. So as Ankur outlined, HL7 V2 by default, you can't read unless you're really experienced. You need a schema that you overlay onto the message to know what each field means. So these are some of the major advantages that Fire gives us going forward.
Thank you so much. Ankur, you have anything to add with these questions? Otherwise, I'm going to jump to the next question.
Yeah, I think Tobias covered everything. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, good. Okay, next question also related to these questions. I think the audience also like to know, as one of the best practice, which is the best version that for the Fire format? Tobias?
Not quite sure whether I understand that. So the best version to adhere to Fire API formats. So as if the question is around the different releases. So Fire is basically follows sort of an open source and balloted process, and is maturing. It intends to cover essentially all of healthcare around the world, and basically with that has matured as a standard now to R4. So Fire R4 is essentially a stable release of certain resources. And the prior versions, STU1, 2, and 3 are evolutions basically to get to that. In many of the stable resources, like the patient resource or the encounter resource, that there's minor differences. So, I mean, ideally, if you have the choice, go with the latest with R4, with a stable version. But sometimes you have customers that have already implemented endpoints on STU3 or 2, and then you go with them. But there's on Fire, there are basically crosswalks between the different versions to take that into account. I hope that answered that question. If you meant something else with versions around Fire, please let me know.
Yeah. Thanks, Tobias.
Yes.
Naveen, you have asked these questions, but if you have any additional inquiries, feel free to just slot it in and other new questions with some of your clarifications, and I'll see whether we have time to address that.
I just wanted to add one thing here. So if you look at the resource list on the Fire website, so there are a few resources, and you'll see there is a small N mentioned just on the side of the resource. So those are normative content which have reached its peak, and they'll not be updated at all in the future.
Thanks, Ankur. All right, quickly, I'm going to jump to the next question. Someone asked about additional examples with HL7's message. So just checking if your repository would have included like any of the additional samples, Ankur?
Well, not at the moment, but I'll be happy to add a few more examples.
Thank you so much, David. I hope it addressed your needs. Yes.
But I maybe just adding here, David. So yes, obviously there's two parts to that, and I think Sudarshan asked the question as well that I'm keen to just clarify here. So what you have seen from Ankur is the HL7 parser. So MuleSoft provides support for HL7 v2, in that we have a EDI parser that parses that message to convert it into a JSON representation, so we can work with DataB for that. We support all HL7v2 message types in it and all HL7v2 versions, so from version 2.1 all the way up to 2.8. So ORU, ADTs, etc. is all supported, but it basically follows the same concept. So ECK is just a nice and easy one to follow. Now, there may have been a little bit of misunderstanding here. The HL7v2 to Fire conversion is actually a separate step. So that what you have seen in here was a JSON representation of the HL7 message. We support, as part of the Healthcare Accelerator, and you can find that on Exchange, we support a HL7v2 to Fire converter, and that supports commonly used message formats, so ADT, ORU, and I think SIU now as well. So that's where we provide conversion as well.
Thanks for the great insight, Tobias. I think this is additional resources. Please check out our Exchange portals. We have a lot of accelerator asset that meant for this healthcare industry, and more to come. Okay, another one. I think this is pretty much of a general topic to ask about MuleSoft connector, since we bring up the Exchange topic. Tobias or Harshana, do you have any insight or update on this?
So first of all, no, we don't have a connector for MedTech 32. I would even struggle to figure out how we connect to that, because it's a fairly old practice management system, I think from a New Zealand company, that primarily run sort of on-prem in those services. But MedTech has a Fire service, basically, that they connect the different practice management systems to. I think it's called Alexa, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, that is something you can look at. So if you've got customers that have MedTech and that you need to integrate with, the approach that I would recommend is not to go directly to the PMS that sits on-prem. It's going to be a nightmare to deal with. but to basically work with your customer to utilize the MedTech Fire services. So basically that consolidates the data from those individual instances into a MedTech Fire service. And then from there, we can use our Fire connectors and services in MuleSoft to integrate very effectively.
Thank you so much. Ankur, have you yourself worked or any of your teams worked with MedTech 32 before?
Not yet. Nope.
Okay. Seems to be a very on-prem closed systems. Thanks, Tobias. You have given us some wonderful insight. I think the next questions probably Anchors you can help to address that. It is pretty much defining correlation IDs. I think you have shown that in your demo. Do you want to just walk through these questions?
Okay, sure. So let's see, how are we defining common correlation ID for a patient from JSON data? Okay, so let's see. So there can be two ways. First is either you can add it simply to the header part, and that is going to be like, let's say I am working on a request response basis, so I can add it in my request header, and from there I can take it forward. So for example, I used JSON loggers here to use the correlation ID. But if you don't want to use JSON loggers, even the normal logger will have an auto generated ID that is used throughout the flow. But I personally do not recommend that. So if you can use JSON loggers, that will be the best thing. Otherwise, the second way, which is not suggested, is using a patient ID to track everything. But if you can include anywhere, either in your data set or in the header, that is the best approach.
Thank you. Many more questions. Let's see anything else coming in. And I have to pull out one question is related to MongoDB. I personally know a little bit. It support JSON and BSON. Ankles, you have anything else to add for this?
Not really. MongoDB basically supports documents that are JSON formatted. Like, it works the best with JSON, and I don't think there is anything else that MongoDB supports.
Yeah, it is just a file format. It is a TCP/IP
Yeah.
database connectors. Yeah, find out more from MongoDB's website. I'm sure that their forums can address better with
Yes.
MongoDB. Okay, one last question is related to a little bit of our announcements just now. So we walked you through RPAs. I'm in the pre-sales. I think I can give you some insight. Well, at the moment, we don't have any of the public free trial for RPA for anyone who'd like to try it out. But if you are one of the customers or you are not MuleSoft customers yet, you can communicate with MuleSoft account executive and getting this something called a trial courtesy license that you can try out RPA. For partners, we have a whole series of the enablements for our MuleSoft partners. Do connect with your partners account managers, and they'll be able to get you in touch with the enablement resources. So certainly, if you have a RPA practice already within any of the partner network, do connect with your partners account managers, and we really need to build up the partner resources to support all our customers in this space. Asana, anything else for you to add? This is related to your announcements with our new launch.
Yeah, you're pretty much like spot on. It would be through that partner manager that we already have with your existing relationship. They will be actually working with you and your organization to have that enablement done. So I believe we already have done that quite extensively with some of the partners, but it is actually going to be done with pretty much all our partners at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. While I really appreciate there's a little bit of time and just checking. Tobias, do you want to share any of the healthcare insight, industry insight from your perspective, like a little bit of the knowledge sharing from your side, so that our audience today will be beneficials for all the knowledge that you have in this industry?
Where to start in 10 minutes is the question.
Well, 5 minutes. I'll let you have 5 minutes, not 10.
5 minutes. I mean, look, is there any other questions? Anything more specific on fire?
Not
Otherwise,
really, but
look,
it's
not really. I mean, I think
the industry. What do you think about this?
Look, we are at a bit of a tipping point, is what I would say. So if you go out into existing healthcare ecosystems and hospitals, 90% of the integrations you'd find today are still HL7v2 based. And this will not change in the short term because that has evolved over long term. So the short answer is fire is not going to change things overnight. Fire has been around for 10 years. Yeah, and it's come to that point. But what we are seeing is some trends that really bring it to the forefront now. The first one is that the big EMR vendors in our region, in particular Australia and New Zealand, they've been a bit slow to adopt that, but Cerner has now made their Fire APIs available here in Australia as well as of, I think, May, June. So customers still need to upgrade to that. But that means that a lot of information that's been locked away in health systems, in systems of records that you just couldn't get to through Fire are becoming more available now. I think that's the first trend. The second trend is also that at the national level, so the Australian Digital Health Agency has a program underway to offer their services in My Health Record, that are HL7v3 based, around fire. So there's a lot of work going on there. And in New Zealand, there's a lot of stuff going on in this regard as well. So you see trends that push that standard. So look, we've got the tools in place now. It's matured to a point, and some of the underlying, let's say, barriers that limited its adoptions are slowly going away, which is why I'm quite positive that we've been lagging adoption. Some other countries have been faster, especially in North America with adopting fire, that this is becoming more and more relevant also for day-to-day implementation in our regions. So
thank you
that's
so
probably
much.
all I share for now. Don't know what else could be relevant, but I'll hang around. If there are any more questions, I'm more than happy to go into that.
No worries. Thank you so much. I mean, this is a great, valuable insight for those who is in the industry. Hearing from the domain expert is a valuable time for them, at least knowing a little bit what is in line with the connectors with this industry and how our MuleSoft platforms can help to contribute to this industry to drive transformations for any of the healthcare solutions. So without further ado, I know everybody is waiting. I should switch over to our quizzes time because you're going to win some prize today from MuleSoft. So if you have not used these tools before, navigate to the quiz.com. I'll share the link as well on the chat windows, and you just need to sign in. Let me just share with you. What is that? Someone is asking about the questions. No, maybe a question. Q&A is off. I see that we have 30 odd attendees today. I'll be expecting at least 30 of you joining to participate in our trivia. I'll just give another 1 to 2 minutes before we start. Yeah.
It's not open for us, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to exclude all MuleSoft employees. You're not entitled for any prize. You can participate, but if you win the top 3, then I will not be able to grant you the prize. So feel free to participate, Harshana. You may be the top winner, but you're not going to get a prize. I will just need to move to the next players. Let me just first start the sessions because there's a few polling of the questions, even if I start it. Let me see. I'm going to put it to participants wheel. So 2 minutes up. 2 minutes up for more people to join in. We have 15 joining already. I'll be expecting another 10 more. 1.5 minutes to go before it starts. The timer is counting down. Please join. You're going to win some wonderful prizes from MuleSoft. 15. Any more attendees would like to join in? Just go to joinmyquiz.com, the link share, key in this number, or you click on the links directly.
Did we just lost Eva?
Looks like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
yep.
sorry,
She's back.
I'm
She's back.
probably just disconnected for a little while. Yep, can you share my screen? Can you see my screen? Not sure what happened. Okay, we have another
A
twist.
couple of people are saying they're unable to join.
Yep. Your screen is visible now. Eva?
Okay, let me restart the quiz then. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. You probably have to rejoin again. Okay, let me restart the quiz again so that everyone can join in. Okay, you know what? This is our new quiz tools. I hope no drama. Let me restart again. Okay, sorry, you may need to join a new game code. So this is a new game code. Let me reshare the code. 499758. By these times, I will get more people joining because I think once it started, folks can't join in anymore. Come on in if you liked to win some prizes. The last 2 minutes, we will be expecting you to join. Once I've started, you may have difficulty joining in. So please join now, right before I start. Any more? 17, 18, 19? Any more? 20, 21? Still growing? 21, that's it. Can I start the quiz now? Last call. 1, 2, 22, 3. All right, I got to start it because we are going to be ending late already. So whoever that joined in late, if you can make it through, your chance. So quickly just type in your email address within this 1 to 2 minutes time, because we need to collect your email address so that if you win the quiz, I know who to contact to give you the prize. So two more the participants, please key in your email address before I click next. Otherwise, you last person. Please key in your email address. Yes, we have everybody key in. One more person hasn't keyed in their email address, I guess, 22 out of 23. Who is the person? Last 1 minute, I click next and you won't be able to key in your email address. Who is that? Oh, everybody has already gotten your email address keyed in. Yes, all done. Good. Next questions. So the first 2 questions is polling questions. Quickly, you can just tell us what is your role. We just need to clock in at 23 and I can click next and we can start soon. One more person. Is there anyone? Yes, good. So next one also is a polling question. Just want to know a bit of your backgrounds. Are you more of Mule3, Mule4, or both, based on your skill set? Then we will straight dive into the 4 trivia questions, and it's time-based. Yes. So first questions should be an easy one. And let's check out who's the leaderboard. Alrighty. Come on. All right. Which is the following format that is used by Fire connectors? Next questions. Let's see who is the leaderboard. Susanti. Let's see. Anyone else has not finished, has not submitted your answers? Yes. Next questions. We have still Susantis as the win leaderboard. All right. On error continue, the last person's time's up who has not answered. And this must be the last questions. I think our leaderboard chart has a bit of issues. I will fix that up after we have ended the quizzes. Last person. And let's see, next questions. The leaderboard, all right. The leaderboard has a bit of problems that's not showing the right score. I will figure out what is going on behind the scenes, but my apologies with these new tools that we are using it today. And thank you so much for all the times that you have take your times to participate in our sessions today. Really appreciate that exceeding of the 3 minutes of today's sessions. We look forward to connect with you and have your attendance again during our next meetup sessions in October, and hopefully before the end of this year we should have one more virtual events. And thanks for all the speakers, Ankur, yourself, and Tobias on the course today. And for all the winners, yes, we have 3 winners, Shian, Azim, and Mark. We'll be in touch to offer you the wonderful prizes from us. Thank you. Have a good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you join in today. See you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. We stop this recording.